Badlands, what are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Consider myself a conspiracy buff at all, but when they get a lot of coincidences, I get a little suspicious and call me crazy.
Polls, weird talk shows, crazy groups every Sunday telling you what you think.
The Republicans and the Democrats conspire with one another, which they do.
There is a conspiracy by big business against American democracy.
We know that there was a conspiracy.
There was a conspiracy.
There was no conspiracy.
Was there a conspiracy?
It's a communist conspiracy directed out of Moscow.
The right-wing conspiracy.
Communist conspiracy is a deliberate and predictable plan of action to subvert the world.
Right-wing
conspiracy. It's an international criminal conspiracy.
Vast right-wing conspiracy.
Great conspiracy.
There are all these conspiracy theories.
Was there a conspiracy? I don't know.
Perhaps themselves even involved in the conspiracy.
There was
a conspiracy.
No evidence
of a conspiracy.
Anybody would have to be a fool nowadays to dismiss conspiracies.
Conspiracy theory.
Cockeyed conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory exists because there really is conspiracy.
But they never told a soul about it. In fact, they engaged in a vast conspiracy.
You get accused of being a conspiracy theorist, of being a paranoid.
The historical context of actual conspiracy.
A conspiracy of bad people.
As always happens at some point in a conspiracy. One night, Cousin Eddie got drunk in a honky-tonk and spilled the beans.
There was a conspiracy, and government was involved in it.
conspiracy existing within the United States government.
There was a conspiracy.
A
conspiracy by the CIA.
The conspiracy of a few.
Dark, secretive, conspiratorial, evil.
Then it was certainly a deliberate conspiracy.
High-level conspiracy.
The do's and the don'ts and the rights and the wrongs of the various conspiracy theories that are good.
Possibility of a conspiracy. In a moral sense, I think it was a conspiracy.
One conspiracy, that's all I'm talking about.
Full of speculation, conspiracy theories, and the like.
And what's going on here?
You began to wonder what was really happening in America. I mean, was there a vast conspiracy afoot?
You know, there could have been a conspiracy.
Do you think you're obsessed with conspiracy?
Conspiracy theory.
A conspiracy.
I'm afraid you'll catch me. I'm afraid you'll catch me.
A conspiracy would do the job nicely.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of your favorite Monday night show, Baseless Conspiracies. As always, I am joined by Zak Paine. Zak, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, John. How about you?
Did you just hit your mic with your little bow there?
No, that was my wedding ring touching my my mic stand, but you know, it's just that little flourish.
It was a wonderful flourish, man. It's been like a week and a half since I've seen you. Since Guard, I missed last week.
Yeah, I missed it as well, John.
No, you didn't.
No, I missed you being there.
Well, I didn't say I missed you.
I missed this,
it.
John. I missed you.
I said I missed the show. Didn't say I missed you, but I will say I did miss you. You had Ghost on, though? You guys talk Jew stuff or what?
We did. Yeah, we definitely did. Ghost and I, I love doing the show with Ghost. Ghost is always great, and we talked about a whole bunch of things related to Israel, and there were, a couple of different things related to, first of all, Laura Loomer went to Israel and comes back and says, we need to decouple from the United States, or Israel needs to decouple from the United States. And I just thought it was so interesting because, so many people have been saying that as of late, and Laura Loomer has consistently gone after anybody, having anything negative to say about Israel. And she comes back and she's like, you know what? I actually think that's a good idea because we should be able to kill whoever we want. We shouldn't have any accountability. And that was just one small part of what we talked about.
She really did that? I missed that.
Well, she said if we want to bomb Iran, then we should be able to bomb Iran, and the United States shouldn't be able to say boo about it.
Oh. So she was like saying we need to decouple on behalf of Israel.
She was saying that that Israel should no longer accept any funding from the United States, no aid of any kind. And because that aid comes with a price. Now, she also phrased it within the idea that the United States, even though we give them so many billions of dollars per year, the United States is also the recipient of much in terms of intelligence. The value of that intelligence, in her mind, far outweighs the $8 billion or so that we give to Israel every year in aid.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
One, I feel like the Israel situation has given us all AIDS. So just to throw that out there. But number two, how can we possibly know the value of the intelligence? And like Laura, have they shown her how much intelligence we've gotten from Israel?
No. I mean, this is like, a girl talking herself up and being like, I'm a 10. I should be able to get any guy that I want. But like, you just look at Laura Loomer and everybody, it's
sure.
subjective.
Are we sure
thing.
She's even a girl? Like,
you know what? That's like a whole other conspiracy. And I've actually already debunked that. She just, she has a look. That guy had a look. It was not her. It was somebody else.
Okay. So she's a girl.
I mean, I can't verify 100%, but like, what has been presented, like that girl, Laura Loomer, was this guy. That's not him.
Breaking news, everybody. Zach cannot verify with first principles whether or not Laura Loomer is a girl.
No, definitely not. Definitely
Breaking news. Heard it here first. Actually, I feel like I've heard that many other times before from people. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. I don't want to talk about Laura Loomer anymore.
No.
Ghost, though, is having a good week already with the Saudi Arabia news that's coming out. He may have been right about a few things.
Ghost has been right about a lot. I mean, anytime I need some insight on Middle East matters, I immediately go to Ghost. And even if he doesn't know what I'm asking about, he will still drop knowledge on something that I needed to know, but I just didn't know that I needed to know.
Yep. That's Ghost. That's Badlands in general. I feel like that's kind of one of those things.
I'm with
something up, even though you didn't you didn't know you needed to know it. But we do have quite a few sponsors tonight. We should probably get to one or two of those.
Let's do it.
To the third one later. But do we want to preview maybe what the conspiracy is tonight?
Well, I actually have a video that I was going to open with. So let me go ahead and start there.
Well, should I do the ads first then before the video?
You can do that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, how do you want to do this? We didn't game plan. We didn't talk before the show because I was doing some homework, but
that's right. Let me just play this trailer. It's a trailer for a film. You may or may not have seen it, but I think that it's only like 1 minute and 30 seconds, so it's not going to take a lot of time away.
I love it.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, is this Mel Gibson?
No.
Hello? Hey! What is happening? What is all of this?
Did you see that article? Every year, these liberal elites kidnap a bunch of normal folks like us and hunt us for sport.
The last I heard, free speech still exists.
Don't First Amendment me.
It wasn't real.
Everybody get out of here!
We were joking.
There's been a killing spree. You got to come here right now.
You actually believed we were hunting human beings for sport. But you are.
We have an opportunity here to teach these people. These are not real people. They're actors.
I'm playing an Arab refugee, but I identify as white. I think that's problematic too, in some way.
You wanted it to be real, so you decided it was.
What kind of sick people would even think of something like that? White people. We're the worst.
So that film is called The Hunt, obviously. It was supposed to come out right before the election. And because of the obvious subject matter, rich liberal elites hunting conservatives, it caused quite a stir. And so they shelved the film and then they didn't release it until March after the election. Now, I too was enraged when I saw it. Like I totally bought into the rage bait, even though I'm familiar with this as a concept. There's a very old story called The Most Dangerous Game, which is about elites hunting people for sport. And it is essentially like a modern interpretation of that. And I have to be honest, when I finally watched the film, it's genius. Okay, like it's a lot of fun. And it really lampoons the rich liberal elites, like more than anything else. Like, it is pro common people, which you don't get initially, and especially the way that it was being written about. It was like, oh, MAGA is upset that we wrote a movie about how we're going to hunt them for sport. Well, of course, people are going to be upset if you're talking about a movie that's going to hunt people that you disagree with ideologically for sport. But it was rather well done. And they also did a version of The Most Dangerous Game with Ice-T back in the day, like in the 90s.
Wasn't Zodiac kind of loosely based on that too? I mean, I know it was mentioned in the movie.
No, I mean, Zodiac is just like a real world example of a killer, having sport hunting people.
Yeah.
But Zodiac was based on a real story. So, I mean, that's something totally different. We'll talk about Zodiac. Didn't we talk about Zodiac?
I don't know if we talked about the Zodiac killer. I don't remember.
But it's I would say go ahead and watch it. I mean, like, if you haven't seen it, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I haven't seen it yet. I do want to watch it.
Yeah.
How does that tie into our topic tonight?
Well, because there was a story that came out, which has kind of been, whispered in hushed breaths since the mid 1990s about human hunting safaris that were taking place in Europe. It's not the first time that it's been talked about, but it is the first time that we now have an official criminal investigation looking into those wealthy elites that were actually going to Europe to hunt poor common folk who were in the midst of a war zone. This is actually going to be a two-parter. We're going to talk, first half tonight, and then we've got another half next week where we're going to get into a much darker element of this. Many of the tales, personal examples of this happening that never were investigated, but that I think should be investigated.
Gotcha. Okay, well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I do think maybe we could, even before we get there, talk briefly about the Epstein stuff if you want. We don't have to. I feel like
sure. I mean, I think we're on the same page. I mean, largely let me do
the ads first. Let me do the ads first.
Okay,
and then
go ahead.
And we may not be on the same page. I don't know. But let's start with a little Chef IQ. Guys, the holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving's coming up. And you can't afford to mess up that turkey, not in today's economy.
No.
Cooking Thanksgiving is high stakes. Feels like one dried out turkey can ruin it all. That's why I love my Chef IQ Sense. This wireless cooking thermometer takes the guesswork out of holiday cooking. The USDA says turkey's got to hit 165 to be safe. Your eyes can deceive, but Chef IQ ensures you hit that perfect temp every single time. Whether you're roasting, grilling, pan-searing, even smoking that turkey, it's got you covered. Couldn't be easier. Just insert the sensor, tell the app what you're cooking, then sit back and relax. Chef IQ Sense tells you when to flip, take it off the heat, and even how long to let it rest. Basically, it's like having a personal chef watching the stove so you can hang out with your guests. No more oven peaky, no more dried out turkey, just perfectly cooked meals every single time. And it works with steaks, chicken, fish, whatever you're cooking. If you're a rich liberal elite, it works with humans too, probably. You'll wonder how you ever cooked without it. Plus, it's the ultimate gift. Perfect for seasoned cooks, kitchen rookies, and everyone in between. And now you can get 30% off site-wide with code BASELESS at chefiq.com. That's chefiq.com, promo code BASELESS. Guys, Thanksgiving's like next week.
I can't even believe it, dude.
I can't even believe it either. So get your Chef IQ Sense. If you don't get it in time for Thanksgiving, you can get it for Christmas as well. It's a great Christmas present for the chef in your life. And we also got a little Brick House, some lean Brick House Nutrition, having another sale, which is awesome. Love these opportunities when they arise. Do doctors have Black Friday sales? The doctors at Brick House Nutrition do. They just announced their Black Friday sale, 30% off, the biggest sale of the year. Most impressive health and nutrition products in the industry are now 30% off. Like Lean, the doctor-formulated weight loss supplement for people who want to lose meaningful weight without injections, and 30% off Creatone, which is their new product, creatine designed just for women to help you look leaner in shape and toned without extra dieting or exercise. I wonder why that's just for women. I'll have to ask them. Anyway, even 30% off Field of Greens, the only superfruit and vegetable drink shown in a university study to actually slow aging. And only Field of Greens promises better health results your doctor will notice. Every Brickhouse product, from better sleep to superior collagen, is 30% off. Better hurry because these Black Friday deals go so fast. Visit brickhousesale.com and save 30% off. That's brickhousesale.com. One more time, brickhousesale.com. We do have one more sponsor, but we'll get to them a little bit later here.
So, yeah, I was going to say, to quote Media Matters, quoting us.
Yeah, nothing burger.
Basically nothing burger. What is it? A bunch of stuff that we already knew, right? I mean, like, oh, wait, Donald Trump had nothing to do with Epstein, and all of these people that we've actually been saying had something to do with Epstein these in many long years, we're still talking to him and, engaging in these relationships. Oh, and they were trying to blackmail President Trump, come up with some way.
Crazy.
And Epstein, I think, Epstein is obviously TDS patient zero. He was rejected. He could not blackmail him, and he was completely shut out in the cold. And so his attitude towards Trump is really, spelled out based upon that. And it's also not surprising that the Democrats in the deep state would try to use these emails in a totally disingenuous way to impeach President Trump. It's also not surprising that they would completely step in a big pile of cow shit and screw themselves, because that's the only thing that's happening with this. I mean,
man, I've never like seen the Democrats or any politicians or the media lie to me. So it's kind of hard to believe that they would misrepresent these emails. Well, I have a question for you. The Department of Justice, who is technically in charge of the Department of Justice?
Pam Bondi. Well, okay, no. Okay, they are executive branch. So Donald Trump, and I know where you're going here because
let me go there then.
Go ahead.
Then you can respond. So right now, Donald Trump's like, "Yo, Congress, Republicans, let's vote for the bill that orders the Department of Justice to release the files."
Mm-hmm.
When technically, it is my understanding that Donald Trump himself, as the head of the executive branch and therefore the head of the Department of Justice, could just, hey, Department of Justice, release those files. Isn't that funny?
It is funny, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so we got to go back to the original split between Trump and Elon. All right, and Elon goes on X and says Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and we were in our chat, and I was like, they are immediately going to jump all over this, and they're going to hang themselves, and that was the first thing they did. Okay, and now we're seeing basically the same thing with MTG. I think this is another example of that, only this time Donald Trump comes out and he's like, now I want you to actually investigate all of these people. After they put these emails out and they proved what we've been saying, now Donald Trump is saying, I want you to investigate these people, and that's how you do it. But in terms of releasing the Epstein files, John, he is forcing them to put their money where their mouth is, because they've been saying for months, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files. What is Donald Trump hiding? And now he says, well, I'm actually not hiding anything. I want it to be investigated. If you want it released, I will sign whatever bill you write for me. And here you go and vote on it. Now, either everybody has to vote on it, otherwise they lose complete credibility in the minds of anybody who has been watching this play out. Or
they care about that, but yeah.
Well, so either they vote yes and he signs it and whatever we haven't seen comes out, or they vote no and they prove that they haven't been serious this entire time because they're worried about it. I mean, think about how many opportunities they've had to release this stuff in the past and they've never done it. They were miraculously uncurious about it for so many years. So what Donald Trump wants is to put them on the spot, to force them into this position. And now, even still, like Jamie Raskin earlier today was like, what is Donald Trump hiding? Chuck Schumer's like, what is Donald Trump hiding? And he's like, guess what, guys? I'm not hiding anything. I say put it out there. Just give me a bill. I'll sign it. We'll put it out there. And so they're basically up against Schitt's Creek. I mean, like, they've got nowhere to go. They have to do it. If they don't do it, then they look totally foolish. Yeah. And I think they would even go on like CNN or MS Now. It's whatever it is. They would go on any of these shows where they've gone and given interviews and saying, we want Donald Trump to release the Epstein files. And if they don't do it, then even those news anchors are going to say, why didn't you release the Epstein files? You had the opportunity to do it. Here you go.
Here's my concern. First of all, Schitt's Creek is my least favorite creek, probably.
Yes.
But when in terms of like, why the narrative play? I mean, we talk about InfoWar, narrative warfare, psyops, all this stuff all the time. And I understand, I'm not saying I don't understand the logic and thought process that everybody's putting forth, but like, oh, we got the Dems to call for it, and the Dems are all in on all this stuff, and the Dems are like, oh, Donald Trump is in the files, and he's implicated all these things, when that's not the case. It's really them. It's the exact same thing as Russiagate. the Dems and the media were all like, oh, Donald Trump colluded with Russia and all these things, and he's a criminal. And at the end of the day, it turned out to really actually was them, and Donald Trump's innocent. It's the same thing. But if you look at terms of like the narrative play with that and how it worked out, was it really that big of a gotcha? Like when it was all said and done, we're still waiting for accountability on that. Are we going to get any accountability from this? Maybe, who knows? But did we really need the narrative play with this one? Like, if you could have released it the whole time, I don't think it's going to change the temperature in terms of like the normies out there by having the Democrats come out and like be the ones demanding it. Okay, again, this is me playing the devil's advocate as I always do.
Yes, as you always do. So I think that there is clearly a segment of the population who it doesn't matter what the truth is. They are, and this is why they put those select emails out and said, Donald Trump, Epstein. And those people were like, oh my God. Or they looked at the email of Mark Epstein asking if Putin had the pictures of Trump blowing Bubba. Like, give me a break. Like, what a Dem fever dream. Like, that shit doesn't exist. But people were like, oh my God, there's pictures that Putin owns of Trump giving Bill Clinton a blowjob. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you are not serious people. But those people exist out there. But there are others, and even on the right, because I've seen it. I've seen people say, what is Trump hiding? Why won't Trump release the Epstein files? I think that those people and quite a few Democrats are going to look at Congress refusing to vote on this if they do, and that will cause them to ask some questions. And, if that happens, then Donald Trump will be like, you know what? You weren't willing to do it. I already said I wanted it out. Let's just go ahead and do it. I could have done it the whole time. Maybe he won't say that he could have done it the whole time, but more information will come out, and maybe it won't come out ahead of time, and it will only come out as a consequence of people being investigated.
So
I don't know.
Do you think they're not going to vote on it now? Because I'm pretty confident they're going to vote on it.
Oh, I'm sure that they will, but I'm also sure that there's going to be some Democrats who don't vote to release them. And even if they get enough votes to release it, the Democrats who do not vote for the release, those people are going to be asked questions. And
but doesn't matter.
Like, well, I mean, I think, if all it is a movie, all it is narrative framing, and we're just trying to get dirt on these people's faces in one respect or another, I think that it will. I think that it will have some impact. Now, is it going to be dramatic, or is it just going to be another embarrassing moment in a series of embarrassing moments that they seem to keep having? Probably more likely that. But, I mean, I think in terms of making Donald Trump come out the other end looking like the winner, I think that, that will inevitably be the ultimate result here.
Which is like the release of the files showing that he's not implicated.
I think that's already happened. I mean, that's already happened. And the people who believe the people who believe the insinuation, I don't think that they will ever be convinced otherwise.
Agreed.
Okay. So I'm not even worried about convincing them. But I think that there are still people out there who are maybe just slow and who are hung up on the idea that they think for whatever reason Donald Trump has hidden these files. All right. Anybody who has looked at these emails over the course of the last week, the unanimous conclusion is that Donald Trump did absolutely nothing wrong. He was the one person in Palm Beach that didn't have an ongoing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. He was the one person in New York who didn't have an ongoing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He was also apparently the only person in business banking and politics that didn't have an ongoing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Everybody else knew that he was a sex trafficker, or at least a sex offender on the list. And they continued to hang out with him and, be chummy and all of that stuff. I mean, even after Hakeem Jeffries, they called him the Brooklyn Obama. They were pimping him out to Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, Kathy Rumler, Obama's freaking White House counsel, was chummy as all get out with him. They were friendly before. She leaves the White House. He gets her a job at JP Morgan Chase. I mean, he even makes an insinuation about young girls.
Yeah. So two more thoughts on this. Like, to me, this is the 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th or 9th. I don't even know which time this is that we've talked about the Epstein files. Like, we've had basically the same story where everybody in, the kind of the Q corner is like, oh, we got him now, 5D chess again. And this time Trump's got the Democrats demanding it, which I swear this is like the 4th time Trump has had the Democrats demanding it. nothing like this is no different than that situation to me. And the question I had, do you actually think we're going to get anything out of these Epstein files that will feed the confirmation bias that is needed from that small subset of the people who like think that this is the thing?
No, those people are always going to be brainwashed. I don't have any mystique or belief that those people are ever going to change their minds. Okay. I think that there is a certain subset of the population that is eternally lost. Maybe through consequence of their own life coming out the other side in a long time, they'll be able to look back with the benefit of hindsight and say, I was wrong about that. But so I find that highly unlikely.
And I'm curious, like if people in the chat too, this isn't just for you, it's a question for people in the chat. If do you think we're going to get something out of like some revealing thing that we haven't known or that we expected all along but haven't got the evidence of, like this elite pedophilia ring going on, like the thing that has built this mythos around the Epstein files? Do you think we're going to get that? And if you don't think that, then what is the big deal about this whole thing? Like, why does it even matter?
So
it's a distraction. In my opinion.
What I would like to see is, any investigative files that began to look into other people that Epstein was associated with. If that stuff even exists, I don't know. I do, however, think that it's possible to prosecute people from any other number of different angles. I don't think we're going to get Jeffrey Epstein saying, I did this with these people. I think that the evidence is already out there. I mean, we have the testimony of survivors. What would be most illuminating would be for the grand jury testimony to come out. And I don't know that that's ever going to get revealed, but, as far as a narrative win for Donald Trump, I think that that's all this is. And I think that there's nothing wrong with accepting that, celebrating it, and moving on to the next thing, because we have a lot of work to do. Donald Trump even said it himself today. He's like, put it out there. We've got nothing to hide. I don't even want to spend time on it. What I want to spend time on is all of the good things that we've done, because that's where the real proof is going to be. Okay. In terms of like Donald Trump's on the job performance, the proof is in the pudding of the golden age. And the closer we move towards that, I think the better off we are. I think that 2026 will be an even bigger year than 2025. I also think that we are likely going to see a lot of this stuff coming out, and then Bannon's documentary with Jeffrey Epstein will likely be released in time for the midterms. It will be timed specifically for the midterms because this is this is like a slow burn. Okay. Like slow burn release of all of this stuff. Donald Trump, here's the thing. Anytime Donald Trump has an idea, anytime he presents something, he gets all this universal pushback from his enemies in Congress, his enemies in the media, and to varying degrees of success. Generally speaking, I think that his ideas and his thoughts on governance, I think they're fairly successful. But in something like this, he's keeping himself removed. It's not Donald Trump that's releasing the Epstein files to destroy his political enemies or to cast aspersions on people like Bill Clinton, who we knew were friendly with Epstein. Okay. He's like, yes, do it. And I've got other stuff I want to do. It's why he won't comment on certain things. It's why he says, I have no opinion on this person or that person. It's the same reason why they ask him to disavow things. And he's like, well, I don't know anything about it, other than, something good. And then he just moves on to the next thing. He's focusing on the game. Okay. But he's also playing the game by keeping these people spinning their wheels and playing by his rules. And I think that that is good.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. I don't agree. I understand with what you're saying. I don't agree with everything you said, but I don't want to dwell on it. I will say I'm pretty sure, I looked this up, I don't remember when, but I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations for sex trafficking in Washington, D.C. anyway, and I know it didn't all take place in Washington, D.C., but a lot of these politicians, I think it's only like 10 years. Well, so I wonder how many of these people wouldn't even fall under the sex trafficking thing with this. This investigation is another thing that I'm like, not dooming out, just being realistic about what we've seen so far. I'm not expecting us to get like any traction anytime soon with any sort of investigation. Hope I'm wrong.
Well,
just so that we can move on. But
I think they're going with RICO, okay, down here in Florida for the grand conspiracy. All right. And I would argue that Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation was racketeering. It was an organized criminal cartel. And obviously, if they are able to prosecute something along those lines, there is no statute of limitations. It also doesn't matter because there was crossing of state lines. There was trafficking of children over international boundaries. So I think just looking at it from that perspective, you have a broad swath of locations that you could bring cases in and under which you could charge people. And if they, and we haven't even gotten into, this is another thing that I am looking forward to seeing, but I mean, all the suspicious activity reports, all of the money and where the money was coming and going from. I mean, certainly that's going to show that there was relationships. Now, are people going to have receipts for all of that stuff? Probably not, but who knows what's going to come out? I mean, I feel that any amount of exposure for the Epstein trafficking operation is good. And even more than that, I would like to see how it connects to other global trafficking operations. They just announced that they are specifically going after the nearly 500,000 kids that were smuggled into the United States and handed off to pedophiles and abusers and stuff like that.
Good. And they should.
Yes.
I'm hopeful that this is over. This is part of the RICO case, because that is exciting to me. The Rico Grande case, that's like what ties everything together. I don't know if they're gonna be able to tie this into that, even though there's a lot of the same players. I feel like that might be its own standalone thing. But did you see the Comey news where he's potentially he's at risk of getting off for the indictment on lying to Congress?
He is, and I saw that Lindsay Halligan has appealed that on an emergency basis. It looks to me like, of course, that judge is playing offense for Comey, doing whatever he can. I would hope that it's not successful, but I don't know if you saw what they did in the Letitia James case. Letitia James, she moved for dismissal, saying that it was insufficient evidence, that it was like a sloppy prosecution and all of that stuff. But then in the same filing, her lawyers admit that the government actually handed over in discovery 115,000 pages of evidence of her mortgage fraud crimes that she was indicted for only in this case. Now, they also, in that same filing, asked for an additional 2 weeks to review all of those documents. And you can't have it both ways. It's not insufficient evidence if you need extra time to view the evidence that they're using to charge you. So if the judge gives her a dismissal on grounds of insufficient evidence, then that sets the precedent that anybody in like her category that's ever going to be brought up for prosecution in the future, they will never be able to prosecute them.
Okay, I do want to everything you said about the Letitia James thing. Agree. Great, she's effed. The Comey thing, I'm a little more concerned about, because I know everybody likes to say like this judge is just carrying water for James Comey, and he may be. I know he's a Democrat judge or whatever, but I read some of the filing, and it is possible that Lindsay Halligan effed up here. Like it is actually possible. A lot of the evidence she got was from his attorney, Richmond.
He was only his attorney so that he could call him his attorney.
If they signed a contract for him being an attorney, it's still attorney-client privilege.
If they make Daniel Richmond a co-conspirator because he was the one that was leaking the information, then all bets are off.
But that's not what. So in the filing, the judge, I read some of it. The judge is saying that the grand jury may have been shown attorney-client privilege stuff that wasn't part of the case, and that's the part that she's like potentially in trouble for. Also, that she may have brought forth a second indictment without showing it to the grand jury, like to what I would assume to be pretty easy things to avoid if you're Lindsay Halligan. So I am curious to see how this plays out, because based on what the judge is saying, if it's accurate, now it might not be accurate, we'll see what happens. But if it's accurate, I could easily see Comey walking for a procedural error. Not that he's innocent, but a mistake, and that would be ridiculous.
Now the judge also says that there is no specific indication, like he doesn't know what documents may have been seen. He's only saying there is the possibility of that having taken place. Okay. And
did you read the filing?
I read portions of the filing. I didn't read it. But as far as I'm aware, he didn't point to any specific documents. He just said that there is that possibility. I didn't know about the second indictment that she didn't show the grand jury. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be terrible if Comey was to get off on this charge on a technicality. But I also don't think that this is the only charge that they could bring against Jim Comey.
Well, that's why if this is the only thing they end up bringing on this guy and he gets off for it anyway, like I feel like the line to Congress charge itself is like a technicality in terms of, okay, we're going to get accountability on this guy, and then he gets let off because of a technicality. I mean, it'd be kind of comical. It'd be comical. It'd be more than comical. It'd be retarded.
Comedy of errors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see what happens. The whole her getting like thrust in there and having to rush to get this stuff filed anyway. Like it is possible that she messed up. So
I just find it hard to believe because I've just everything I know about her, she seems like a real pro.
But do you remember, like, she was thrust in there at the last minute? Like she had 3 days to get this thing filed or something like that.
She was.
And she had to go show the grand jury. She had to go through all the evidence and show it to the grand jury in a matter of days. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Obviously, it's too early to tell, but just based on the filing, I know from a Democrat judge, just being a realist, playing devil's advocate, guys, it's my role here.
Yeah.
That I'm just saying. Anyway, let's get into the conspiracy theory.
All right. So I just, in relation to the recent story and obviously the trailer for the film that I showed you, I also wanted to show you this article from 2016. I thought that it was pretty interesting that this was published and it was totally serious. Could Hunger Games become a reality? Hunting humans may be a hobby for the rich in the next 100 years. By 2200, hunting humans could be televised and an activity for stag doos. Changes in natural environment will drive a divide between the rich and the poor. Humans in the future will kill others in a claimed aim to reduce population size, although there will be a perverse thrill and excitement to it. So I feel like this is kind of like some predictive programming. They were trying to lay the seeds of normalizing the idea of this. And it's not so unusual because, as we're going to show you tonight, this is something that has happened for a long time. Now,
do you think people would sign up? I think they would sign up to play a game like the Hunger Games if there was like $1 million prize or something, knowing that if you lost, you would die?
Yes, I think people absolutely would do it. Yeah. Now, in preparation for this, I found stories. Okay, well, do you remember the movie Hostel?
Yes.
Okay, so Hostel is a couple of American tourists. They're traveling in Slovakia, and they are recommended by a bar wench that they should go to this one particular hostel because apparently there are beautiful Slovakian women there, and they love to sleep with Americans. They get there, and it's actually a hostel that's owned by a group called the Elite Hunting Club. And the Elite Hunting Club is made up of rich elites, and they pay certain amounts of money to kill the visitors that come to this hostel. They pay $5,000 for Russians, $10,000 for Europeans, and then $25,000 for Americans. And they can torture them and kill them however they want. Now, the genesis of that movie was a story which at that time was allegedly something you could find online. You could go to Thailand as a tourist and you could pay to kill somebody. Now, allegedly, these people were willing to be killed because either they were dying or their families were in desperate need of money. And so half the stipend would go to the hunting club. The other half would go to the families of the people who were being killed. Of course, there's absolutely no way to verify whether or not they were really getting their money. And, I couldn't find a website. I couldn't find anything other than the stories of this. But the idea of human hunting has been around for a long time. Now, let's go to the Serbian War, the Bosnia, Kosovo war back in the mid-90s. So are you familiar with this at all, John?
I don't think so.
All right. So in 1993, there was a group of Kosovo Albanians from the former Yugoslav Republic, and they formed something called the Kosovo Liberation Army, the KLA. And their hope was to wrestle independence for their country from Serbia. And by 1998, there were, a series of different fights that had broken out. There were, many people that were killed. The United States and NATO ended up getting involved in the late 90s. NATO was actually dropping bombs on the former Yugoslavia. They were trying to force Serbia to release control of Kosovo. And the United States and the United Nations actually were, stationed there for quite some time. Now, during this time, there was a tremendous amount of death and just terrible things happening. I mean, you're essentially in Kosovo. You're in this, it's basically like a city in a valley, and it's surrounded by these beautiful green mountains. And in Sarajevo is where most of the horrific stuff happened. And the people that were living in Sarajevo were constantly in danger of being killed from the Kosovo Liberation Army. And then, the all of these different sides were fighting each other. But the citizens, they would be forced to run down the street because at any time they could be shot by snipers. Okay. And that includes men, women, and children. There is a little girl by the name of Irina Sisic. She had just turned 1 in 1993, and her mother and her father were walking outside in Sarajevo, and there was no fighting. There were no shots going off. There were shells that were perhaps going off in another location, but it appeared to be pretty silent on this day. And as this little girl is being held in her mother's arms, they're just standing outside of their home. A sniper's bullet strikes the child, okay, the 1-year-old child.
The 1-year-old child?
1-year-old child.
And this is a real story?
This is a real story. She is shot in the arms of her mother as her mother holds her, okay? The baby did not survive, obviously. They got her to the hospital, and she died, okay? I mean, she was dead. Now, this little girl, Irina, was just one of 11,500 or so civilians that were killed. About 1,600 of them were children, and their deaths occurred between 1992 and 1996. The Sarajevo was ethnically Muslim, majority Muslim. Okay, so not everybody that lived there was, but the Serbian army that was occupying and killing them, and at this point all anybody knew is that it was the Serbian army. There was a war crimes tribunal, and it was a whole to-do, and there was just basically a lot of killing of civilians, innocents that had nothing to do with the war. They were they were living in a shooting gallery. Okay,
what was the name of the town?
Sarajevo.
How do you spell that?
Sarajevo.
Okay.
All right. So during the war crimes tribunal, it was Yugoslav or Albanians and the Serbian soldiers that were essentially blamed for the deaths. But what has been reported, there was actually a movie about this called Sarajevo Safari. It came out in 2022, and there had been discussions of this. It was kind of a well-kept secret in this region in Europe. But wealthy foreigners would come in to Sarajevo. They would pay the Serbian soldiers, and then they would post up in the hills with them. And then they would shoot rounds into the town and kill civilians.
That's insane.
And they would pay up to $90,000 for the pleasure of killing a human. You actually had to pay more, though, if you wanted to shoot a baby or if you wanted to shoot a child. So Irina, there was probably a premium on her life. And these were literally like human hunting safaris. And this has been under investigation in one form or another since at least when this documentary came out in 2022. But the reason it broke is because it is a full-scale criminal investigation now in Italy. And they've actually identified Italian citizens, wealthy elite Italian citizens that took part in the human hunting safaris. There is a Serbian intelligence officer who came forward. He is a whistleblower. You've got people that obviously lived here during this time, and they've come forward to talk about their experiences. You know, there was this one main street that they called like, you know, the shooting gallery, but like every street in Sarajevo was not safe. Like people would come outside, you know, they'd have to go get food, they'd have to go get supplies, and people would just be running down the streets trying to run faster than any bullets could potentially hit them. And, you know, people were just dying in the streets. It was pretty horrific. There was also a U.S. Marine named John Jordan who went there as a volunteer firefighter. Okay. And so he was going there to like offer aid relief work during that time. And he actually testified during the War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague. And Slobodan Milosevic, does that name sound familiar to you?
No.
He was like a boss, basically, that was involved in this, and he was one of the people that was prosecuted. But John was there from 92 to 95, and he witnessed this stuff happening, and he also knew about it at the time that it was there. I
cannot believe that.
It's an atrocity, you know. I mean, like it's terrible.
And we're just now getting like actual reporting on this.
Just now here I mean, there has been limited reporting at different times, but it's very quickly been kind of like glossed over. And even this movie, I mean, you can actually, if anybody out there wants to watch Sarajevo Safari, you can find it for free on Vimeo. In 2023, there was a 30-minute story that was done by Al Jazeera, probably because these were Muslims that were getting killed. And they reported on that. But the full documentary Sarajevo Safari, you can go watch it on Vimeo. I'd recommend that everybody do it because, you know, this is like the worst example of everything that we know happens. And it was truly happening. Like, I can only imagine the type of people that would gleefully pay $90,000 or more to go shoot a child in a war zone. You know, we've often talked about the possibilities for human trafficking in war zones, organ trafficking. We're going to touch on that tonight. But I truly never really considered the possibility of people going to war zones to just kill people, because it would be something that you could plausibly deny. You just be able to kind of hand wave. I mean, you know, I told you there's like, you know, over 11,000 civilians that were killed during this time.
So do you think this is a more pervasive issue than
I do.
Sarajevo?
Yeah, I think this is far more pervasive. And I think that there's evidence to suggest that this sort of thing was going on prior to that. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But let me talk to you real quick. I've got an article from Al Jazeera about the specific investigation that's going on right now. So the investigation is right now headed by an Italian prosecutor named Alessandro Gobis, and they launched it as a result of a author who came forward and wrote a book about it. An Italian author who was doing it in collaboration with some local Serbs. And they actually filed a legal complaint for murder aggravated by cruelty and despicable motives. And they named specific groups of Italians that they had tracked who had traveled to Sarajevo during this time. Now, Italian media said that investigators are tracking down these specific people who participated in these safaris, and they have 5 names that they have already identified. Okay. Now, here's the thing. It's not just Italians, John, because the wealthy elite span the globe. We're talking Italians, French, British, American, pretty much anywhere that they have people who might be sick in the head. Okay. Like, let's just say cabal, deep state type individuals. So while the investigation was getting ramped up, Gavazzini, the guy who wrote the book, he gave all of his evidence to the prosecutors, and he also went to local news outlets there. And he obviously wanted to expose what type of an individual and which levels of society would be interested in committing heinous acts like that. He says, we're talking about wealthy people with reputations, entrepreneurs who during the siege of Sarajevo paid to be able to kill defenseless citizens. And the sniper safaris, like I said, they took place between 92 and 96. The Italian citizens and others from around the world who apparently were gun enthusiasts. I think that, that's one way you could describe them. But I would say that, they're also probably psychopaths and some type of narcissists. But they would gather in Trieste, which is in northern Italy. It's on the border with Yugoslavia, or the former Yugoslavia. And this was a regular thing. They would go on Fridays for a weekend hunting trip. They don't yet know who it was that was arranging the trips for the groups to go, but they clearly had connections within the Serbian forces. So they would then get flown into the Yugoslav Serbian Aviogenics airline. That was the airline they would take. They would fly into the hills around Sarajevo. They would meet up with the Bosnian Serb militias that were loyal to Radovan Karadzic. He was, again, later convicted of genocide and crimes against humanity at the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. That was in 2016. So check that out. I mean, 92 to 96, he didn't get convicted until 2016. This thing dragged on for forever. He's in prison for life. He's yeah, and he was specifically convicted of shooting civilians. So these tourists would pay up to 100,000 euros, which, at the time of this article being written, it was $116,000 in the exchange fee. And obviously things are adjusted for the currency exchange when they would do it. And they would go out. Participants would then be given a price list, like a menu for the type of kill that foreigners would pay if they wanted to target a particular individual.
That is insane.
It is insane. The children were the most expensive. Then men, probably because men would be a more sporting kill. Then you would have women, and then the elderly. This is the worst part. You could kill them free of charge.
Are you serious?
Yes. No fee to kill the elderly. So you could zero your scope in on an old person because they can't run. They're going to be hobbling around. So totally awful. So they would go on these manhunts, and then they would return, and they would just go back to life as normal. No big deal. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of this, because the filing that was given to Italian authorities, it's 17 pages long. It's got the testimony of that Bosnian military intelligence officer I mentioned a few minutes ago. And he has firsthand knowledge of his colleagues that would go out and do this. The other part of it, John, is that at the time, they actually went to Italy's military intelligence unit, which is called SISMI. And they said, hey, we are getting reports that your citizens are flying in here from Trieste to Sarajevo, and they are killing our citizens. And at the time, Italian intelligence told him that they would put a stop to it. And allegedly, a few months later, the trips did end. Now, it was a report from SISMI that discovered exactly where the departure and landing spots would be. So it sounds like they actually went and intercepted these people on perhaps their last trip. and told them that you're not going to be able to do this anymore. I don't know why they didn't, take it any farther, probably because of how important and how wealthy these people were.
So the intelligence community knew this was going on.
Mm-hmm. Now, I would also suggest that if the Italian intelligence knew, most likely the American intelligence knew, because the Americans, we were heavy over there. All right. Like, we had a presence in the region. I find it difficult to believe that United Nations or NATO didn't have some knowledge of this, because this, again, was an open secret. It was all over the place. There's also another witness from the report who gave Gavazzini details of 3 men who are 3 out of that 5 that are being investigated. They are from Turin, Milan, and Trieste, and they're also named in this SISMI report. And the man from Milan is the owner of a private plastic surgery clinic. So he's wealthy because of that. There is also the former mayor of Sarajevo, Benjamin Carrick. He also sent a case filed to the Milan prosecutor's office discussing the specifics of these rich foreigners who were engaging in this inhumane activity. And the Serbians, to this day, deny having any knowledge of these killings. Not surprising, because it was the Serbians that were leading these expeditions. And the Italian investigators believe that it was Serbian intelligence services that were 100% aware of these trips. And the Bosnian military intelligence officer is supposed to be one of the first people that gets summoned by the prosecutor's office. He is expected to tell exactly how the trips were organized with the airline, and how the Serbian State Security Service was the one who was behind the entire thing. So it's also, so SISMI also, although they were informed of the trip, allegedly they never took it any farther. They didn't discuss it with Bosnian or the other Italian spy agencies. And Serbia, as far as they're concerned, they are allegedly going to give their full cooperation. I don't know what that's worth now, because, maybe plenty of these people are no longer alive.
I think there's a video here, a news story on it.
Okay.
Do you want to watch it?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Hold on.
You realize that it's not playing?
What? Oh, dang it. I'm sorry. I was sitting here like, oh man, this is disgusting. And I didn't even add it to the screen. My bad, guys.
Surrounded by mountains, Sarajevo once became a sniper nest during the siege of the city in the 1990s. Thousands of civilians were shot from these very hills, then held by Bosnian Serb forces. Now, it's alleged some of those bullets were fired not only by soldiers, but by foreigners who paid to come here for the pleasure of shooting and killing people in the city.
What we can say is that there were certainly civilians who shot at the people, at the population of Sarajevo, paying for this kind of activity.
A complaint filed in Milan by Italian author and journalist Ezio Gavazzini claims wealthy Italians travel to Bosnia and Herzegovina on so-called sniper safaris.
I cannot give numbers here, but we're talking about quite a number of individuals.
Witnesses describe how the so-called shooters from several countries made their way here. They flew from Trieste to Belgrade, transported by Yugoslav army helicopters to Pale, the wartime headquarters of Bosnian Serb forces, before being driven into the hills above Sarajevo. Different fees were reportedly charged depending on whether the victim was a man, a woman, or a child.
The people I saw were certainly not ordinary people. They were people in high positions, and from that side, they were also protected.
Gavazzani says he revisited the case after watching a documentary co-produced by Al Jazeera that exposed claims of foreign involvement. Among the evidence is testimony from a former Bosnian military intelligence officer who documented earlier reports of so-called war safaris that came from a Serbian prisoner of war.
Of course, there are documents about this. I remember at least 3 of them. One is the record of his interrogation, another is the record of the follow-up interrogation, and the third is an analysis I prepared, which explained the phenomenon of the war safari, a term mentioned for the first time on the Sarajevo battlefield.
Bosnian authorities say they launched an investigation 3 years ago, but it appears to have stalled.
3 decades after the guns fell silent, Sarajevo is still demanding answers. Who came here to kill for pleasure? Who helped them? And why, after all this time, if this alleged crime was committed, is justice still waiting? Ardoana Pribinja, Al Jazeera, Sarajevo.
Why did it take so long for this to come out?
Well, I think probably because of the implications of who was involved. These people are powerful, and they've been protecting themselves. It's the same reason why we've had a criminal cabal running the United States government for so long. Now, the people in Sarajevo who survived, there's a guy named Zemel Hodzik. He grew up there in the 90s. He was 9 when this siege was happening, and he's got something called the Sniper Alley Project, which is basically a collection of photos that were taken during the siege. And he said that obviously it was especially dangerous, and at the time we had information that was circulating from that there was people who were coming in to shoot at us. It's pretty much a well-known fact, he said. But it means nothing when the murderers and snipers who were shooting at us for 4 years are at large, and we see that our Bosnian prosecutor's office is doing nothing about it. I just hope this case from Italy won't disappear from our media space and that we will actually have some positive results. And his brother was actually killed by a sniper. They don't know who it was. He was just playing tennis in the neighborhood, and they have no idea who it was. He was just killed.
Could you imagine?
No, I can't. It's very difficult to, imagine what it would be like to be living in that situation. We've essentially had a life of, relative luxury in comparison. And it's one of the most horrible things I can possibly imagine. Now, we know, as I said, that it was, Americans, French, people from the UK, people from Italy. There was also a Russian author, and he was a politician at the time, Eduard Limonov. I guess that he was filmed during a documentary that was being made on the Bosnian War in 1992. And in that footage, he is there with Karadzic, the guy who is tried for war crimes, and he is shooting a machine gun into the city from the hills as he's being filmed. Yes, he's like gleefully just shooting it random. And so there's the probe is likely to bring up lots of different people. Now, I also need to show you this because I think you're going to get a particular joy from it, because your favorite congresswoman has also taken note. This was reported on in the New York Post on the 12th. Regarding the alleged murder tourism discussed below, I have opened an investigation into this matter, and I'm in contact with the Bosnian consulate as well as the Italian embassy. Paying money to shoot civilians, and even worse, to shoot children, is a level of evil our country cannot and will not tolerate. Both the Italian and Bosnian governments will be sharing any and all information regarding any Americans that may be implicated. If there are any Americans who have engaged in this, they deserve to be charged and prosecuted. And somebody must have given her some grief, because she said, taking murderers off our streets is America first. Americans may have paid to travel to murder people for sport, hence the investigation. This is our issue. Murder is murder. Read the entire post, please. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just glad that it's being investigated. And I realize that, it's been many years. We don't know if anything will come from it. But I feel like we're living in the age of disclosure right now, John. I do. I absolutely do. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it may not be as much as people want. It may not be the things that people want, but I truly believe that we're on the cusp of exposing what is the most vile and psychopathic criminal cartel on the face of the planet. And if we're going to be successful, there has to be a total takedown of these people. Yeah. We can't soft pedal it. You know, I mean, we can't say, well, you know, they committed perjury, but they didn't actually, you know, go after kids.
You don't want any soft disclosure? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think that it's okay to begin with soft disclosure, but eventually we need to get into the hard disclosure. But
and see that's I'm with you, man. Like I want this to be the age of full-blown hard disclosure.
Yeah.
Give us everything. We're ready for it. We've been waiting for it. We want it. And I'm just, and I don't know how many times I have to say this, because every time I'm like, are we actually going to get it though? And I'm a little skeptical, or a little more like, okay, guys, we've been waiting for a long time. I'm done excusing away, you know, not having it now. You know, people call it complaining or blackpilling or whatever, but it's just the reality of the situation so far. We haven't had any actual disclosure on anything that we really wanted so far. We've gotten some declassified documents. Great. We finally know who, you know, maybe killed JFK. There's another shooter, guys, behind JFK. We finally got those files 50 years later. There's things that, like, we have all these high hopes for, that I worry that if we're not a little more proactive in demanding some of this stuff, that we risk continuing down this path where we don't actually get any of it. And it's us having the mindset of like, we're so close. It's coming. We need to figure out what the end date is. Those people who are willing to like just say, be patient. It's only been a year. It hasn't been a year, 10 months, whatever. Because at some point, like, we run the risk of not. What happens if we don't fix our elections by the midterms, and we get a Democrat Congress in there, and they do try like impeaching Trump, and even though they won't get rid of him, they won't convict him, whatever, they'll be much more successful in stonewalling and stuff, all these things, and we risk not getting into this stuff. So I feel like there is a little bit more sense of urgency, and that's a little bit why I'm not willing to wait as long as other people, because I feel like I have been waiting, and I am impatient. It's like a personality trait of mine.
Yes,
it is. But still, like, I don't think it's wrong to like be demanding this stuff. I'm hopeful, like you are, Zach. This is the closest I feel that we've ever been. We do feel like we're on the cusp of it, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it could go either way. That's what it feels like right now.
I mean, theoretically, it could. Theoretically, it could. Okay, but you know, the amount of time that you've spent waiting is a microcosm in comparison to the amount of time that many of us out here have spent waiting. You know, I mean, I literally have been.
You guys should be demanding it more than the rest of us then.
I am demanding it. I mean, I'm not saying anybody shouldn't be demanding disclosure. I am 100% in favor of that. No problem. But all I'm saying is that from an objective standpoint, having lived my entire life waiting for these things to start happening, I feel that they actually are happening. And, you know, it may not be in the way that people want it to happen, but the truth of the matter is that there is no perfect way for it to happen. And I also do believe that what President Trump, the administration, is doing is a very delicate tightrope that they're walking.
But if there's no perfect way, then why even try to like get as close to perfect? Just rip the Band-Aid off.
I understand what you're saying. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but I also think that there's an order of operations to do it in such a way that there is a defanging or a declawing of the deep state. Because if it's too much, John, I believe that they would respond with a Samson type option. Okay, I think that there's a reason they've got underground bunkers for themselves all over the world. Okay, so that, you know, if they need to, they could simply go to ground. They could just take care of everything, and then they never have to worry about getting caught. They can easily let the population rebuild so that they've got slaves in the future, metaphorically speaking. But I think that what the administration is trying to do is to take us gently from this period that we're in into the next phase of this. And, there's no perfect way, but ultimately I'm not the one who's making the decisions. I think that it's totally appropriate to continue to demand that we get these things revealed. And I believe that ultimately they will be. But what I'm also saying is that for some people, it won't matter how much it is or what it is. It won't be enough because it won't be the way that they want it to be. And I'm in a unique position because, I always bring it back to my experiences with addiction. One of the things that you have to accept is that I am not in control. Okay. I mean, like in general, I am not running the show. Like to a large degree, I am a spectator to a lot of what happens around me. The only thing that I have power and control over is my own actions and my reaction to everything that I can't control. Okay. And just by having that mindset, it releases me of a lot of the stress and the anxiety of not controlling all those things that I want to be different. Doesn't matter that I wouldn't like them to be different, but I am not going to allow it to destroy my day or to make me feel any kind of a way about it.
Sure.
Okay.
I want to respond to that because that was in response to me. Now I feel like you're putting me on blast a little bit, Zach.
Not at all.
I know. I'm just kidding. But I understand exactly what you're saying. I talked about this in my show the other day. It's like at some point, and this has been like a theme of Badlands for like a year now. At some point, you got to stop just like waiting for the people in charge to do the things for you and stop letting anything they do affect you and just take things into your own hands. That's very much been my mindset my whole life. And that's why we started the Badlands groups, the Badlanders groups, badlandsmedia.tv/groups. Get connected with people in your local community. You're going to be able to make a change at the local level, and it's going to be different for everybody. Like what we do here in North Dakota is going to be different than what you guys do down in Florida. That's why it's important to join your local group. I don't even care about what's in the disclosure of any of this stuff, if I'm being honest. I don't care what's in the Epstein files. I don't care who gets charged with the RICO stuff. I think most people don't care. There's a very small subset of the community that is like banking on these, the Epstein files being a certain thing and what's in the RICO Grand thing being a certain thing because they've spent 8 years telling people it's a certain thing and they need it to be that thing. Otherwise, their followers are finally going to realize they've been full of shit for 8 years. You know what I mean? But what I want to see is whatever happen so that we can move on and get onto the golden age. Because I don't think we can get to that next step without whatever it is in the middle here happening. Like whether it's a disclosure of nothing burgers or a disclosure of like all these crimes or whatever it is, I don't care. I just want that phase to be done because we do not get the golden age without that thing in the middle. If we get the golden age at all.
I feel you. And I am of the opinion that President Trump and the people that he's working with in the administration are painfully aware of what needs to happen. I don't think that they're flying blindly. I don't think that they are operating without some type of a plan. I think that they know exactly how you feel and they know exactly what's at stake. So to think that they would simply leave it to chance and they would, not push this in a direction which makes us successful, I think that, that basically negates everything that's happened thus far.
Well, you just said that if it goes the wrong way, the enemy is going to do a Samson option.
Well, yeah. So, no, what I'm saying is that I am a logical person. Okay. So I look at everything that could happen, that may happen. All right. And I think about what's likely to happen. So like my view of the world is based upon, what I believe is likely to happen. Okay. I know that belief could be challenged or could be incorrect at any time. Okay. So for me to say that the outcome that I'm hoping for is impossible is naive and it's illogical. Okay. So all I'm saying is that I understand and that I know that there are any number of different outcomes that could theoretically take place. So what I'm doing is hoping for the best. I am I have my set of beliefs that inform the way I look at the world. And I have a certain level of faith in President Trump and the group that he has surrounding him.
Okay, but
doesn't mean that it's perfect. But I think that President Trump and all these people are aware that if they're not successful, it's not just that America is going to fall. They are going to probably round them up, and they're never going to see the outside of a prison cell, if they even allow them to live at all, because there has already been tremendous damage that's been done to these criminal networks. And I see it being chipped at every single day. So, I think that they would definitely want payback. I mean, I just think that that's the logical answer.
So, I mean, I have a couple thoughts on this. Do you think we have no possible way to affect the outcome of this at all?
Not at all. No. This is where your personal agency comes into play. That's why I said, what can you truly affect? Like, I'm not in the DOJ, I'm not in the executive branch, I'm not in the legislative or the judicial. Okay. So what do I have control over? Like my own personal influence. And I think you're absolutely correct. Like becoming part of a local group, like seeing what it is you can realistically do in your own neighborhood, in your own groups, on the internet. I think that the internet is incredibly a powerful tool. And I know that the administration is paying attention to what's going on the internet. I think that, there was tremendous outcry and lots of commentary going on about the Epstein stuff. And, they responded to that. Think about how many times, this has never happened before, but think about how many times people have begun talking about something online and the administration has come forward and gone out to do an interview, or President Trump posts something on Truth Social. Like, they're listening. They're definitely listening, but they can't come out and just say, trust me, bro. I mean, even though, Kash Patel, the closest you'll get to that is to just, stay tuned, right? I mean, he just said yesterday to Maria Bartiromo that he is 100% certain that there is going to be justice for the grand conspiracy. I've never heard
day one he's going to release the Twin Towers.
Yes. Well,
he also said there was a elite pedophile ring in the Epstein files.
Yes, he did. Okay. So, but he also wasn't the director of the FBI at that time, and he likely was not privy to certain information, or he wasn't bound by certain strategies that were yet to be put into play. Once, he becomes that position, he gets read in at a different level. If I was Kash Patel, I would think that would be pretty frustrating, and I would have a difficult time going out and, going back on things that I had said. But he has no choice. Okay, he has to operate within his particular sphere of influence. So yes, I think that everybody should be vocal about the things that they want to see, and even the way that they want to see it. But all I'm saying is that you must accept that if things happen differently, that's just the way that it is. I mean, once something happens, the sitting there and being upset about it, it does absolutely nothing for it. No, I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you are. But I'm just saying that allowing yourself to exist in a state of distress about something really doesn't do any good. It's like the TDS sufferers out there in America. Like, they are so consumed with Donald Trump and their inability to do anything to stop him, despite everything that they say. It poisons their minds, and it essentially gives him space in their brains, and they can't get over it. I'm not saying that that's what we're like. I'm just like, here's an example of the worst possible thing you could do with something that you have no control over. So, I think where we differ is my level of optimism. And again,
I don't think so.
No, you don't think so? Okay. Well, I mean,
I'm optimistic. I feel like too many people won't talk about the other side. And it's the not talking about the other side that is holding us back, in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's important to be optimistic. I'm a pretty optimistic guy generally, but I feel like I have to assume this role of devil's advocate, because there's so many people that are like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. But then when you actually look at it and like, you said you've been waiting for so long to see, a justice and accountability. And now you have like, this is the time. Like, you feel like it's different this time.
Mm-hmm.
But, my rebuttal to that would be, what based on experience, based on what you've seen from this administration, what actually tells you that it's different? Because the reality is we haven't actually yet received anything to show that we're finally going to get a justice and accountability this time. We're getting a story just like we did the first administration. And I'm hopeful and optimistic, having read every single filing, that has been available for the Rico Grande thing. I'm on that rug a little bit. But again, like, I feel like it's the mentality that we need, that it's not going to work out the way we want it to, that is going to motivate us to make sure it does work out the way we want it to.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I'm not willing to put it in anybody else's hands but my own. And I think having and I'm not saying this is you either, by the way, but there are so many out there. Like even today, I had a post about, I was just like commenting on how silly it was that Trump, he could just release all the files if he wants to, but instead he's letting the Gong Show play out, and clearly he wants it to play out that way, which is great. Whatever. That's funny. And then I had a response. It was like, it's a scripted movie. I'm like, come on, like, no, that is illogical. It's unethical. It's like I could go through a list of like 10 things that do not make sense for a full control scripted movie. That is not what's going on, in my opinion. But like, I feel like I can make a very good persuasive argument as to why this is not a full control scripted movie. But people are just sitting there like everything they see is part of the plan, and that makes no sense. And I feel like that just breeds this what's the word?
Complacency.
That wasn't the word I was thinking of, but that works.
Yes.
And that's the problem I see. And I feel like talking about the negative possibilities is going to spark things for people to like, okay, maybe there is less in control of the people at the top, and there needs to be more control myself. And so, yeah, maybe I will go join a Badlanders group or whatever group is out there. Get together with your friends and infiltrate the precincts, school boards, whatever. I don't know what the answer is, and the answer is going to be different for everybody in their own community. I just do not want to see us fail, and I don't want to leave it up to anybody else, because I can't control half the news we see, the investigations we see. We have no physical control over how any of those things work out.
Yes.
And so
that's true.
That's why I'm not putting any eggs in those baskets at this point.
So what you're saying is like what I've been saying on my show for years. Okay. Like, people need to be accountable at the local level. People need to be active. President Trump, when
Stop
he was
blackmailing Texas 2013, that is retarded.
So when President Trump was running for president, he said that he was going to fix this failed and corrupt establishment and hand the power back to we the people. All right. Now, that is very different from the idea of just sitting around and letting everybody else do everything for you. That is not what you should be getting out of this. We are going to be in a position to effectuate change. We are already in a position, but I think we're going to be in a greater position as we move forward into the next phase of this operation. And, I think, I said on my show today that, I've seen this movie before, because like I said, we saw that with Elon Musk, the same type of public spats. Donald Trump does this all the time. That's what I mean when I see this, because it's like, I do think that Donald Trump is manipulating the people around him. I think that that's part of the art of the deal. And, it doesn't mean that literally everything that we're seeing is controlled by some unseen hand, but in a manner of speaking, like from a military sense, how do you get the outcome that you want? You provoke your enemy to react to something that you're doing. And that's what I see Donald Trump and this administration doing. They are provoking reactions, okay, which leads to them being able to make another decision or, provoke some other outcome. And it doesn't mean that they have the entire script all laid out, but I do think that there are frameworks that they're working within, just as they would on a battlefield. All right. I mean, like, you go out on the battlefield, that you've got these different positions that are set up with these specific weapons, and your enemy is here, here, and here. And you're going to go out there and you're going to do this just like a play in football. Okay. Like, I mean, they have the plays set up. They know which players are going to be going in which direction. And if it all works out, then the play is perfect. But at the same time, you don't know what your opponents are going to do. They might react with something that surprises you. So then you have to have the backup for the original play in case things go a different way.
Yep.
I think that's exactly the same thing that we're seeing here. Okay. I mean, this is strategic in a way, meaning that it has to be thought out. They have to have contingencies for the contingencies. And it's all sort of using the same kind of general game theory. But it doesn't mean that when you see someone do or say something, in my opinion, that they are doing it because they were told to do it. I don't believe that. But I do think that there is a level of that when we see different players within Trump's orbit doing or saying certain things to provoke certain reactions. But I'm talking largely about the enemy. I think the enemy is 100% reacting to what they see Trump and the administration doing.
Sure. No, I would agree with that. Yeah. I totally agree with that. I mean, everything we see on social media. On Saturday we created our Twitter scissoring. It's scissoring or whatever. That's all it is to me. It's so gay these days. Everything we see is it's gay. It's a rerun. It's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's gotten to the point where, like I said at the beginning, this is literally like the 6th time we've done the Epstein story, and the like, come, give me a break. Like I just.
Well, it's also the first time that Trump has controlled the Justice Department, and he is specifically.
No, it's not.
Well, no, I mean, in a manner of speaking, it is. I mean, I don't look. The first administration was, of course, President Trump was the executive, but he was surrounded by moles. Okay, he was surrounded by deep state agents that were working at every turn to usurp him. I think that there are still those types of individuals that exist in the administration today, but the level of clear out that they had and the level of control that they have now is far greater. I think that this is the first time that Trump has been in this position with this level of disclosure surrounding the Epstein subject. And it's the first time that investigations are now going to take place into each and every one of these deep state actors. I think that these subpoenas are going to go somewhere. I think that the Rico Grande grand jury is also going to go very, very well.
Well, what do you mean you think these subpoenas are going to go somewhere? Like, what do you think? What are you expecting?
Well, I think that the subpoenas are going to result in indictments. And I think that the indictments are going to result in convictions. And I think that the convictions are going to take these people out of the board. They're going to be taken off the board.
You think there's going to be new indictments for the Epstein stuff?
Well, I can't say specifically, but I would hope, since they're going to be doing criminal investigations into Bill Clinton and Larry Summers and Reid Hoffman and all of the people who were, long-standing associates of Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, there was money that was changing hands. There was first of all, the DOJ can now, if they're going to do an investigation, because this is not something they ever did before. They had the statements and the testimony of the victims, naming people specifically, like what's his name, Tom Pritzker. Okay, that's one example. Now Virginia Giuffre is dead, but you have all of these other people, these women who were victimized. They testified about who it was that was victimizing them. They testified about the location and the exact arrangements. The DOJ has never followed up on those things. Like, those things have just simply languished in the grand jury testimony, which is in these courts. Okay. If there is going to be an investigation into the powerful Democrats and anybody that was associated with Epstein that was engaging in the trafficking and abuse of children and women, then right now is going to be the time that those investigations actually take place. I would hope that it would result in indictments for those people. Now, I don't know that it's going to happen, but gosh, it's what I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, it would be entertaining to see anybody.
Well, more than entertaining, I think that it's necessary, and I think that it would have to happen as part of the healing process.
I used to think that, like, I don't know if I agree anymore, and it's not because. I think it's only because there's such a small subset of the people in the world or in the nation, whatever, that actually want to see Hillary or any of these people arrested. I think a majority of the people don't care as much as we think they care.
Well, that may be true. I realize we live in a bubble.
Oh, but yeah, we do.
So I mean, I get that, and I'm totally realistic about that.
And that's also why I'm I'm taking that approach with so much of this is because like a lot of things that we get so hyper focused on and like are wanting to see and getting sucked into some of these narratives and whatever. As Chris Paul says, the point is not to get hoodwinked at all. And I see like my normie buddies, I feel like they don't get hoodwinked because they don't participate. You know what I mean? Like they don't
feel like
care.
that's the wrong answer though.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree that they, you should at least be engaged locally and care about some of this stuff. But the reality is a lot of these people don't care. They just don't care about who's in the Epstein files anymore. They don't care about some of these arrests. I'm not saying I don't care because I would love to see some of these things. And this is obviously what I do for a living. And I'm very invested. I love reading through the documents. I want to see these things. I wrote the devolution series. I still saw somebody in the chat say, "Do you not believe in devolution more?" Of course I do. Like 100%. And that should be like, if anything, that should be more noteworthy because I believe there's something bigger going on behind the scenes. Yet I'm trying to operate as much as I can as if there's not, because that is what I believe everybody should be doing.
Save yourself from the inevitable crash.
And also the rug pulls. Yes,
the rug
Save yourself
pull.
from the rug pulls because there's been so many. And we don't know when the rug pulls end. We don't know if we have to end the rug pulls ourselves. Like, we just don't know what we don't know. And
the unknown unknowns.
Yes. And so that is why I choose to operate the way I do. I also, we talked in and Gart, we're gonna be saying this forever now. Like, we choose to be highly frictional, and I love being the asshole. I have truly adopted that mentality, devil's advocate. And
I'll tell you why I love it.
I like making people in the chat uncomfortable, like, oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you why I love it. Because it forces me to actually like back up what I believe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, if people aren't challenging you, then you are lacking in intellectual exercises. And I think that these types of conversations are necessary, even if, even if you continue to come from a point of view that, this is something that isn't really going to happen. I mean, ultimately, I'm convinced that it will. And I'm comfortable in that. And I think that I think that's best case.
I think the best case scenario is operating as if it's not going to happen, but then have it happen. You know what I mean?
I feel you. I lived my whole life basically assuming that it would never happen. All right. But it also led me to some dark places. Now, obviously I've grown a lot since that time. I've like come out the other side and I have a very different perspective on the world. But part of my optimism is the fact that I see all of these very, very different things taking place. It's highly unlike any past administration that we've had. I know that President Trump is a unique figure. He is a transformational figure. There has never been anybody like him in my lifetime. I don't know how anybody could possibly be like him in the future. And I realize, there are milestones that are coming that need to be met. But I think that what Trump is doing is he is removing himself from the insinuation that he's the one pulling the strings. Okay, because even if he doesn't get out there and act like that, the media still acts as if he is, because they know he is, really. Okay, at the end of the day, he is pulling strings. But he is removed from all of that. And that's why I say, okay, well, that's why I let them handle that. That's why I let them handle that. And I think that that's a smart play. Okay, because I mean, at the end of the day, he is going to get the credit for the positives, but I think that all the people that are along with him will also get credit as well. And I think that history will look back on this time and President Trump's efforts and the efforts of the people around him, and he will truly be seen as a once in a lifetime leader.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I'm just seeing some comments in the chat. A couple people, and I like saying the stuff that people don't like to hear to get the reactions. And some people, they understand what I'm trying to do here, and some don't. And they're like, "You're in such a dark place, John. I've been there." Like all these things, and I think that's such a dumb comment if I'm being just totally honest, because I'm really not. Like those who know me or see me on a day or watch my show every day. Like I'm good. I'm happy. I'm I'm very optimistic. I also see what is going on. I feel like once you get in tune with the info war, which most of the people in the chat are, most people in Badlands are, like, you're very in tune to the info war. You've been watching this stuff for 4 years, tracking this stuff. You see the moves on the chessboard being made, and you hope it's leading to the conclusion that you think it's leading to. And that's so many things to be optimistic about. Also, if you guys haven't heard, I'm like a billionaire and I have multiple private jets and yachts and stuff and whatever. Like, things are just great. I'm good. But it's the people that, when somebody says something you don't like to hear, it doesn't feed your confirmation bias. Instead of I don't know how I want to say this and come off as like an asshole, but whatever. I am the asshole anyway. When somebody says something you don't like, it doesn't feed your confirmation bias. If your first reaction is to like call that person a doomer or a black pillar and not engage with what they're actually saying, I feel like that's the intellectually dishonest route to take, because you're not actually, you're just, okay, well, that person's wrong. That person's in a bad place, obviously. Like, reality isn't always peachy keen, guys. You know what I mean?
I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Yes, I'm an asshole. I get it, guys.
And I understand what you're doing, okay? Like, I mean, you are hoping for the best, expecting the worst. And you're kind of living in this area, which is going to be most it's going to be the biggest cushion for your psyche should things not go the way that I'm suggesting they definitely will. And I think that that is a comfortable place for people to be psychologically, and I can understand that. And again, I think that my lifetime of watching all of this stuff bubble up and happen all around us, and just seeing how different it is this time, it gives me a level of comfort that I think is difficult to impart on somebody else if they don't feel it. But again, I appreciate these conversations because it gives me the opportunity to back up the things that I believe and to take an honest look at what's happening around us. Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that President Trump and his family and we as the American people have already sacrificed so much. And for us to have come this far and backslide without the positive movement forward, it means that that America, I don't think it would survive, truly. I mean, I think that we would be around, America would be around, but it would be a very, very dark place. And I don't think that that's something that they are willing to allow to happen.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not too. But the freaking NPR article, I need a T-shirt that's like QAnon adjacent or something. That's so funny.
I think we should make one. We should definitely make one. That's so funny.
Somebody in the chat said that.
What's the funniest to me is that I put this on Twitter. I like retweeted that story. And I said, now that USAID funding has dried up, NPR has been reduced to reporting on the analysis of better reporters or independent journalists rather than coming up with their own analysis.
Isn't it funny that they had to create content about people not falling for the psyop? Like, people, because we were like not engaging, not like getting it. You called it a nothing burger, and like, man, these extreme QAnon adjacent right wingers don't think this is what we want it to be. Like,
they're not buying the fact that we're saying that Trump is bad.
Is that insane? It's hilarious.
Yeah.
They published that shit.
It's pretty crazy.
I think it's great. I hope they watch more.
You saw the Media Matters article as well?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
That was also dumb.
Yeah, totally dumb.
But that's not our first rodeo with Media Matters either.
Oh, God. There's dozens of articles.
I'm waiting for the CNN article. I feel like that'll must be coming. That's the natural next step after NPR, right?
I had an article written about me in GQ. There was the Washington Post. I don't know that I ever made it to CNN, but yeah, it's
I've been on People Magazine as the world's sexiest man, but other than that, I haven't had any other like mainstream recognition. So let's see what happens.
I feel like if we make CNN, then that will be straight desperation on their part. If CNN has to start reporting on Badlands Media and the podcasters of Badlands Media, they are going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Or Ghost said something extremely anti-Semitic or something, and
yeah, that could actually
caught wind of it.
Yeah, that could
That's
happen.
what it's going to end up being. The Jews, oh no.
That's funny.
Yeah, that'll probably end up
Well,
being
what's funny is that it's almost like okay to be anti-Semitic on CNN now.
Is it?
I mean, basically,
Those
I mean, like they've
copycats.
had a lot of criticism for Israel. Well, the criticism of Israel itself has been billed as anti-Semitic for years. And, as a result of, they're catering to the ultra left wing, that criticism of Israel has become, kind of okay. Now, of course, there are certain things that obviously they would not allow you to say. And I'm sure that much of that is said on Badlands because we have some pointed criticism,
and more.
But it's not unique to Israel. I mean, it's like, we will criticize corruption and demonic activity wherever it exists. If it's here at home, if it's in another European nation, if it's Serbia, we'll call it out wherever it is.
We hold no prisoners. I'm waiting for them to watch just one of our Only Lands, and I think that's what's going to be when they write a story about one of our Only Lands episodes, because it's when we're like the most unhinged.
Yeah,
we're gonna really take off. Yeah. But anyway,
and my point is that criticism of a nation is not the criticism of the people who live in that nation. Okay. Like, I mean, there are plenty of criticisms that you can have for the United States over the years, but that's not my fault. Okay. That's like, blaming all white people for slavery. All right. I mean, like there are bad people that exist everywhere, and there are plenty of corrupt deep state governments all around the world. And the nation of Israel has been shrouded in this Teflon skin where criticism was not allowed, because any criticism of that country was then billed as anti-Semitism. But they are not the same thing. And that's what I find funny in terms of the sort of changes that have taken place in the mainstream media.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we need to get back to a place where we can criticize and say whatever you want. People have gotten so soft. Like I saw Dave Portnoy. Man, I used to say that I wanted Badlands. Like my vision for it when I first started it was like, I want to be the Barstool Sports of like news, though. Like just a bunch of dudes and Ash hanging out, talking shit, whatever, just having fun, but like also putting forth their ideas, whatever. And then I saw him go on, I think it was Barry Weiss's podcast or something, and he's like, this comes back to the Jews too, because somebody like threw some nickels at him or something and said something anti-Semitic. And he's like, hate speech is just inappropriate. And these guys, like, they used to be fun and talk shit about anybody and everybody all the time, and it didn't matter. But now all of a sudden, like you get to a point where you make enough money, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you can't say anything bad or negative about the one group of people,
the Jews.
And it's just kind of pathetic. And now I would like to officially retract my statement of saying that I wanted to be the Barstool Sports and News. I want to be the Badlands Media News. Leading horse in news.
As soon as anyone becomes a protected class, it invites ridicule and commentary, because it's almost like you want to pierce through that veil. I mean, the reason I'm comfortable saying that, not all Jews are, the problem is because, I've met plenty of Jewish people who were total patriots and they didn't like what the nation of Israel did.
Yeah.
And
not all Jews are the problem, but all the problems are Jewish. A little bit.
Well, there are also problems that are not Jewish, though. I mean, like you got plenty of people of all nationality, color,
blacks
ethnicity.
have caused a lot of problems too. You're right, man.
Yeah, it's across the board. It's across the board. So I just prefer to look at it as narcissistic psychopaths.
Oh, John is not a believer. What am I not believing in?
All people can be narcissistic psychopaths. But what I'm against is narcissistic psychopaths wrapping themselves in the cloth of a protected class and then saying you can't criticize me because of my protected class.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would totally agree with that. We should do the rants.
Let's do it. And then we'll have another bang up show next week because we didn't even get...
Yeah, I kind of got distracted there a little bit, but
yeah,
that's okay. Oops, I gotta get to the... Let me get to the boost for. Oh, no, what? We have another sponsor.
Oh, let's do it.
We might have another 2 sponsors. Let me see what we're at. Yeah, we got Brightcore. Let's see these guys back in the mix. You guys remember that interview we did having to do with this, the microplastics that are everywhere, including our brains. And I think it's never been more obvious that it's in our brains. But anyway, did you know a dangerous amount of microplastics are now being found in our water, our food, and our bloodstream, even our brains? These tiny plastic particles, often invisible to the naked eye, carry toxic chemicals like BPA that disrupt hormones, damage DNA, and inflame our organs. They affect everything from metabolism to fertility and have been linked to cancer, neurological disorders, autoimmune disease, and developmental issues in children. The worst part, there's no way to avoid exposure. It's everywhere. But there is a way to fight back, and it starts in your gut. Your gut is your first line of defense. A healthy microbiome can bind to and break down microplastic toxins before they poison your cells. But if your gut is compromised, those toxins sneak right through, wreaking havoc on your immune system, energy level, digestion, skin, and even your brain. That's why healing your gut isn't optional anymore. It's essential. Restore your gut flora with the power of Kimchi One, because in a world full of plastic, your gut needs to be bulletproof. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below. Just use promo code Badlands for 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, you can call our friends over at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. So give them a call right now at 888-652-4131. That's 888-652-4131. Thank you to Brightcore for sponsoring the show.
Beautiful.
All right, let's see if we got any boosts real quick. Then we'll get to the rants and see how many people can pay me to call me a black pillar. It's always fun. 1027 JS says, thanks for $20. Thank you, Joe, my fellow North Dakotan. Good to see you as always. I think that's all we got for the boosts. And we got some rants here. Hold for processing. All right. Keith Higgins, if doctors had Black Friday deals, would they be witch doctors then? Touche. Eden's Refugee, just want to say good evening to the NPR and Media Matter lurkers with a bunch of middle fingers.
Hi, Alex.
Is Mike Rothschild Media Matters or not? I thought he was.
No, Mike Rothschild was the Daily Dot, and now I don't even think he works there. I think that Mike Rothschild is independently funded by who? Well, you can figure that out on your own. I mean, he doesn't release any tax records, but I don't know. Maybe somebody will get a hold of his tax records or something.
One with Cats. San Antonio Badlanders meet up on November 30th at 2 p.m. La Hacienda on Redland Road. More details on the events page at badlandsmedia.tv/events. That is awesome. I've always wanted to go to San Antonio. Oh, is that Muffin?
It's Muffin.
What's up, Muffin?
Say hi, Muffin. Say hi, honey.
Oh, so sweet.
Yes, she's good.
Angie K says it will never end. They all need a clickbait story, just like wars, and y'all should watch Mike Benn's last podcast. It brings it all together. I'll do that. I haven't talked to Mike Benz in a while. I should get him on the show. 252 Hospice Nurse. Human hunting games is not new. It hasn't stopped. Many spoke on it. Allie Carter and Kathy O'Brien, to name two off the top of my head. It's used in MK Ultra programming as well.
Yeah, we'll be getting into that next week if we can get through the first half of the show that was supposed to be tonight.
My bad. Nevada Runner, great film to check out on just horrors of living in a fire zone, shot through the heart, 1998 film.
Okay.
Yeah, I really want to watch the movie The Hunt.
Yeah, yeah, you should watch it.
Mad Mr. Fox, I was in Bosnia for 8 months in 98, 99 with the Army. SFOR, peacekeeping mission. We did a weekend road march with Germans in Sarajevo.
Sarajevo.
The whole country was war-torn.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It's crazy. I mean, the video like that we saw earlier looked like a beautiful countryside, beautiful area.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This is not the only hunting party from Susie Q20 for $5. Very grateful it's coming to light. Please, God bless us.
Yes. Yeah. No, like I said, we barely scratched the surface, and we're going to get into a whole bunch of different specific cases next week.
Angie K, look what's happening with the first Comey case. Want it done right or just done? We got to get it right.
I agree with Angie.
Well, I was told we were getting it right with the first Comey case too.
Well,
that's what I was told. Not you, but other people told me.
I hear you, but it's not over yet.
It's not over until Letitia James sings.
That's right. Peekaboo.
Zen Papa. Here's another $1 for the Baseless Conspiracies yacht. Look at that.
Thank you, Zen Papa.
I was thinking about it earlier today on my show. We were talking about all the jets and yachts I have. Instead of like doing a GoFundMe for you, I could just give you one of mine.
That would be amazing.
I'll take it into consideration.
Okay.
Keith O'Higgins. John, can you show us on the doll where the black pill touched you? Funny. It's actually a suppository. So, joke's
Muffin,
on
what are you doing?
you. Ramble 365. I love this side of Zach. That's why I'm here.
Well, thank you.
What is
Just
other side of
the
Zach?
biggest rant of the night so far.
I don't think so, is it? Oh, it is. Well, I get half of it. So, and guess what? I'm the one who brings out this side of you, Zach. So, what does that mean?
I know. I couldn't do it without you, John.
Eden's Refuge. Baseless in chat. Make Mondays great again. Love you, homies. Love you too.
And thank you, everybody, for being here with us tonight.
Yes. And Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter says, great show, guys. Love you both. We love you guys right
Love
back.
you too. Love you too.
Appreciate y'all. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. I'll be back on tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern with the Daily Herold. Zach, you'll be on your show at 5 Eastern, right?
That's correct. 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. Awesome. So, wait, Alabama John wants to talk to who right now? Who are you talking to in the chat?
I don't know. I missed it.
I'm confused. But anyway. Yeah, anyway, you guys have a great rest of your evening. Hit that thumbs up, and we will see you next time we see you.
Peace, guys.